Hello and welcome to today's video on high altitude investing. In today's video, I'm going to be teaching you how to use Bitmex and Poloniex for margin trading. Quick disclaimer, margin is extremely high risk and I recommend only using very small amounts of your portfolio when trading margin. So let's get right into this. Margin trading. I'm going to start off by teaching you how to make some margin trades with the Poloniex interface, and then I'm going to teach you how to make a margin trade with the Bitmex interface. So let's just kind of get into this with the Poloniex first. Now, if you have a Poloniex account, then you want to have some deposited funds. This is an extra account that I had laying around that I decided to repurpose for this video. And so I have just a little bit of money in here that I'm going to be using for margin trading. And to take that money, first we need to transfer into a margin account. Now, margin can be a little overwhelming to understand at the start, but basically what you're doing is if you deposit $100 into a margin account, with Poloniex they provide 2.5 times leverage. So that means that there's another person on Poloniex lending out some money to you. You borrow their money and then you can trade with 2.5 times more money than you actually have deposited. Now, in doing so, you pay small daily fees. So you want to be aware of that it does cost a little bit of a daily fee to borrow the other person's money, but it's relatively negligible. And for me, the fees have never really been a big issue for margin trading using small leverage like Poloniex provides with 2.5 times. So in a nutshell, you're borrowing money from lenders, they get a small daily fee, and you get to make more profits because you have more capital to work with. Now, I will warn you again that margin is extremely risky because of the fact that you're borrowing money and you're playing with more than you actually have. You have the ability to get liquidated, which basically means that if your account falls below a certain price, you wouldn't be able to sustain paying fees anymore, and you would be so down on your position that it would have to liquidate your account, which means any money that is in your margin account will get taken away from you, and it will get given to the people that had long positions or short positions whenever you got liquidated, depending on whether it went up or down. So, what is a long position? A long position is when you bet on a stock or cryptocurrency going up. And a short position is when you bet on it going down. So what a margin allows you to do is take advantage of both opportunities. One quick side note is that you never want to short bullish markets. If you're in a very, very, very bullish market, it's not good to try to catch little shorting entries on that bullish market. It's better to only stay long while the bulls are long and then go bear when the bulls are, or when the bears are in charge. So a couple things is this is not financial advice. So you can take this for what it's worth and do with it as you like, but every choice that you make is yours, and High Altitude Investing LLC takes no responsibility for any losses that occur in trading. So let's get into this now that I've kind of gone over those basics, told you what it is, and got a little bit of money in this account so that we can play with it. All right, so I'm going to click under balances, transfer balances up in the top right on Poloniex, and then I'm going to move over this 0.043 Bitcoin from my exchange account into my margin account. Just playing with a little bit here today that we are going to use on a long position. Now, I'm going to provide a coin that you guys can also take on long if you like, and ride this position along with me. So I'm going to give you guys a free signal today because I'm feeling really generous. It's the new year and, you know, always got to do things nice for my fans here. So I'm looking at MadeSafe coin. If you are purchasing this before, let's see, if you are watching this video before 0308, MadeSafe is an excellent margin position in this range. Now, as you guys know, I do the technical analysis side of things on TradingView with the dollar charts, and then I can buy and then I can sell on the exchanges with the Bitcoin pairs. So I'm seeing this as a very, very strong trend line for MadeSafe. We also have an increase in volume again here. more so than what we were experiencing during this pump zone right here. We had very little volume right here. So we're starting to pick up in volume. We've landed very nicely back onto a trend line, and that is a great opportunity for an entry. This is also an expanding pattern, and when these break out, they go very, very, very high, so it wouldn't surprise me if Made Safe would break out, and by the end of the year be worth $3 or somewhere around in there. But this video isn't about predictions, it's about margin trading. But I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of reasoning behind the position that I'm taking right now in margin on Poloniex. All right, so also the Bitcoin pair, because it is a different chart if you look between the US dollar pair and the Bitcoin pair for these coins. The Bitcoin pair is in a very, very nice double bottom formation. This big, huge bottom here. So we've hit this low, and it's been a while since we hit this low. It was actually about 2 years ago since we've been this low and Made Safe against the Bitcoin pair. So this is a good risk to reward for margin because the Bitcoin pair also looks amazing. This huge ABC correction right here that happened. So I'm gonna go ahead and go long. Now, this gives you an idea of how I manage my risk in margin. I have a tradable balance of 0.132 Bitcoin, and I have an account balance of 0.053 Bitcoin. So that means that, that's 2.5x leverage. As you can see right here in the right of my screen, margins 2.5x leverage. Now, because margin is risky and you can get liquidated positions, I like to stick to very, very, very small amounts when I'm doing so, because the profit margins are so high that it doesn't matter that you're not going all in. I highly recommend not over leveraging your account and never ever go all in on margin ever. That is the worst thing that you could do. You'll probably get a very bad taste in your mouth from it. And if you do win from it, then you'll probably win with a bad habit or a bad form, as I like to call it, and then you will lose down the road. So I like to use the analogy in basketball, where if you want to become a good shooter, you practice good form. It doesn't matter if you make the shot or you miss the shot. It's actually better to shoot with good form and miss than to shoot with bad form and make the shot, because you're forming habits, and those habits will control your decisions for the rest of your life. So with trading, I recommend avoiding the habit of going all in. Take good form on your trades or your shots, and go ahead and make sure that you're doing it from the perspective of being a good trader rather than making the most money, because the best traders make the most money, but you have to flip it the other way around to see that. All right, so enough of that. I am going to use 0.02 because you have to use at least 0.02 Bitcoin on a margin position for Poloniex. So I'm going to open up a long position on Made Safe right here. And to do so, I've already transferred the money into the margin account via transfer balances. There's all these different coins that you can margin trade on here. There aren't as many margin tradable coins as there is exchange tradable coins. And that's just because there has to be people there to lend them. So if it isn't a big enough project, then there really isn't enough people there with lending power to allow you to borrow the money. So that's why not every single coin is allowed for margin, but a lot of really good coins are allowed for margin that move plenty of percentage, so you don't really need the other coins anyways. This is plenty of room here, wiggle room to make money trading on margin with these coins. All right, so again, I clicked on the Made Safe chart. This is the one that I'm buying. You can also follow along in this trade if you like to. Again, if it's before next month, and this is February 2018. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and put 0.021 Bitcoin in long, and that is roughly 25% of my total holdings, maybe about 30% in this tradable balance. Now, the reason for that, and I just press margin buy and press OK. It's going to wait until it gets filled. There has to be some people here selling. Okay. So yeah, this entry will get filled here. And once this entry is filled, it will give me a margin percentage. And I'll explain that here in a moment when the position is actually in. All right, so my entry got filled, and now you can see that I have an open position below this chart. I'm gonna switch to the big time frame here. I love to look at cryptocurrency and basically any charts on the big time frame possible first, because it gives you the full perspective before you start to worry about the little picture. That's super important. Remember that always as a trader. Look at the big picture before you go into the small time frames. All right, so now, as you can see, we have 410 made safe on long at the base price of 0.000051 Bitcoin. So that is my entry. And then it says estimated liquidation price. Notice how it says not applicable. That is because I haven't over leveraged my account. If this margin percentage started going between, over here on the right hand side, if this margin percentage started going down into the lower levels of, let's say, 60%. So maybe I used this tradable balance, maybe there's only 0.02 Bitcoin in the tradable balance left. That would give me about 60% margin in this account. So what that means is I would have a liquidation price. So if it dropped below a certain level, it would liquidate my account and take all the money in there. So you never, ever, ever want to let your current margin go below 90 or 80%. Those are the magic numbers I found, 80 to 90%. I like to keep mine at 100. I don't put too much into the margin because I make enough off the fact that it's 2.5 times more, and because it's cryptocurrency and not stocks. So I don't really care to over leverage it. I know people that have liquidated accounts. I've liquidated margin accounts before. It just happens if you are trying to learn all of this stuff. It can happen, and you just have to take it for what it's worth, learn from it, and move on. So for me, what I found that works really well, again, is like I said, keeping it between 90 and 80% margin. I like to put mine closer to 100, and then I only trade with small amounts. So let's say that you want to get in on a coin, but you don't, and you want to put 0.01 Bitcoin into a coin, but you don't want to have to use 0.01 Bitcoin. Then just go ahead and deposit 0.03 Bitcoin into your margin account, or 0.003 Bitcoin into your margin account. Use that 2.5 times leverage, and then you can go ahead and trade a position that's worth 0.01 Bitcoin without having to risk that much of your portfolio. So that's kind of the idea behind it, is that you can have bigger positions and still risk less of your portfolio. And it's a win-win for both people, because the people on the lending end of things, which you guys can also do, get paid daily fees. So they're getting 0.0035% compounding daily interest, which adds up to pretty good at the end of the year if you calculate it out. Some of these coins, sometimes the interest is a little higher. I've seen times where Bitcoin was 0.1% interest a day. So anybody lending to margin traders, we're making 0.1% interest a day. You don't really want to be margin trading if the loan offers are that high, because you'll be paying high fees. Right now, we're paying really low fees for margin, about 0.0072. So for me, that's very manageable. I don't feel uncomfortable paying those fees in a margin position. As you can see, we've had this margin position open for a few minutes now, and we have 0 fees. So tomorrow we might have a little bit of a fee, but it would probably still be only like 20 or 30 Satoshi. Such a small amount that I don't even notice personally. But I have talked with people that got in on margin positions when the fees were really, really, really high. And because of the fees, they weren't able to sustain their position any longer. and then it kind of went south because of that as well. So just be aware of the fees and go and check the lending fees before you open the position to make sure that they're in a reasonable range. As long as they're in the 0.00 whatever range, you're probably good. Okay, so that's how you open a long position on Poloniex. If you wanted to short sell something, if you wanted to bet it on it going down, you would use the same option here. You would just sell made instead. And that would basically open a short position. See where this says long over here on the left? That would then say short, and you would profit off any dropping in the value of that coin. Right now, the markets have already had a lot of panic recently, and they have an amazing opportunity for long positions down this low. This is a really, really good risk to reward ratio to be buying coins again because they've dropped off so much. When things get a little overvalued and they're breaking all-time highs again and everybody gets excited and they think everything's going to go to $1 million right off the bat, not saying it won't down the road on any of these coins, but when people are too excited and things are overvalued, then you could be, once the first leg down comes, then you could start taking short positions. So once you see that the trend has clearly shifted on the downside, you could take some short positions and make money off of it going down. But right now we're in a very good risk to reward ratio for buying. And again, today is the 2nd of, or it's actually February 9th, 2018. So those are current market conditions. They are constantly changing, just to be clear on that. All right, if I want to take my profits on this position, I can press close, and that will either take my loss or my profit. This unrealized profit loss is my unrealized gains. Right now I'm at a very, very small loss. That generally happens with opening the position. You've got the fees, you've got the price difference. So you start off with a very small loss usually, but it's negligible, nothing to worry about. But when this is in a profitable position, this unrealized profit loss will be green. And then if you press close, it will add whatever this number is into your margin account. Now, it's unrealized. So if this says 0.1 Bitcoin up, and so it's not red, let's imagine this was green. If it said 0.1 Bitcoin up, and then you go check your deposits and withdrawals, and you're like, how come I don't have 0.1 Bitcoin in my US dollar value right now? No reason to fear. It's just because you haven't taken those profits and realized them. So if you want to see it get added to your account, you press close, and it makes those unrealized profits realized, and you'll see the US dollar amount get added to your estimated value of holdings. And again, you guys, margin trading is not for beginners in any way. So if this sounds really complicated to you or somewhat overwhelming, it's probably because you need to start with some of my more beginner videos. I have a playlist. If you just go to YouTube and search altcoin or Bitcoin and altcoin trading for beginners, you'll find my playlist, and it's got a bunch of videos on there. I also have a VIP stuff which you could check out on my website, which teaches us teaches trading stuff as well. But that's in the description, so you can look at all of that later. All right, so I think that generally explains the position. If you want to set a stop loss, you can set a stop loss. It's the same as setting a stop loss on anything else, except that you short your long. So you have to have an equal amount. So I have to be able to trade another 410 made in a short position. If I want to take my profits with a stop loss, I put an equal short position of 410 made in the same spot that I would normally have a stop loss. And when my long position drops down to that spot, the short position just equals out the position, takes my loss, and then I no longer have a position open. So if you want to use stop losses and margin, you can. You just have to short your long or long your short. And it's the same functionality as the standard Poloniex stop loss. There's lots of videos on YouTube about Poloniex stop losses. If you need a refresh, go watch those. But for me, I do low risk, so I actually don't use a hard stop loss on margin. I use soft stops. I just have an area in mind that I'm willing to take my loss if it goes down there. but I don't use hard stops. But that's just because I don't let myself have a liquidation price that is available. So it's not even applicable to my position. So I don't care if it drops low. I'm buying the dip anyways. Okay. I think that is pretty much all I wanted to go over the Poloniex margin aspect of things. I hope that that helped clarify some people over how to use all of this so that you guys can make money in both directions of the market in times of high panic and in times of high buying pressure, and take advantage of both of those opportunities. All right, so now let's look at what Bitmex margin trading would be like. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and press login here. Now, Bitmex is a little bit different because you can't directly lend. And, you know, it's a little bit probably overwhelming, and there's lots of other videos explaining the Bitmex interface on YouTube too, but for the most part, it's the same as Poloniex margin. If you look at it the same, you won't have a problem using it. So let's go ahead and do a little bit of margin on here. Now, this place provides 100x leverage. Never touch those numbers. If you want to get good with margin, I recommend sticking to 2 times leverage, 3 times leverage, and at the absolute most, if you're using a stop loss, go with 5x. So that's kind of my general criteria for the risk limit that you can use on here. Do not be these idiots that use 100x, because they're the reason that whales are making so much money off 2x and 3x positions. Is all these people that want to get rich quick and go 100x, bro, you know, because if you deposit $1,000, they're like, bro, I can open a $100,000 position. So they think they're all cool all of a sudden, right? And then it, you know, bites them in the ass usually. So just be aware of that. With Bitcoin here, if I was day trading this, and I would be on Bitmex, that's generally what I like to do on here, I would be looking to find an entry, right, on this chart. Where can I buy, right? Where can I open an entry position? Now, on the right-hand side of things, you have the chart. Up at the top, you have the coins that you can trade. I stick to Bitcoin. It has the most liquidity in the market, and it's the easiest to get in and out of positions. So I like to use the Bitcoin on here. And then there's the other coins that you can trade as well, like Stellar, Neo, Ethereum Classic, Cardano, the whole shebang. But yeah, let's go ahead and open a short-term long position. So I'm just going to go ahead and go to 1 minute candlesticks here. And let's go ahead and take this, delete that. All right, so guess for the purpose of this video, it doesn't really matter if I'm right or wrong on the trade. I was going to do a little TA on it, but we'll just go ahead and go long here. So up here on the top left, there's market, and I've already deposited funds into this account. So up at the top right here, there's the total and the available. You can click on this, it'll bring up a QR code with your Bitcoin address. That allows you to deposit funds over. I just have a very small amount to play with here for the purpose of this video. We're just watching on these 1 minute candlesticks for some panic to get in on an entry here. This is looking pretty nice as some panic. Let's kind of see how it plays. All right, so if I press market, generally when I'm day trading this, I do use market positions because I'll get in and out. And so I don't really mind that I'm buying at market price because I'm watching it. But I don't do a lot of day trading anymore. It's just more work than what's necessary, I have found, because 2 and 3 month setups are more profitable. That's a whole nother thing though. So yeah, let's just go ahead and go market long 100 contracts. So we'll just buy market with 2 times leverage with 100 contracts. And then I'm just going to go ahead and it will give you all of this information here. It says order value, the cost of the order, your available balance, the position size after you execute it, your mark price, and your estimated liquidation price. That's the number that it has to hit for your account to get liquidated. Okay, so let's just go ahead and press buy. Okay, I understand all of the risk. I'm going to press buy. And now, as you can see, I have a long position on Bitcoin in at the price of 8569 on 1 minute candlesticks. Now, my liquidation price is 5,700, so this would have to crash all the way down to 5,700 per coin for me to get liquidated. But I'm just trying to day trade this, so I'm just making a small little swing off of this. And my goal is to probably take profits up here somewhere at 86 or 8,600 if support doesn't hold here at 85.4. Okay, so that's kind of my trading plan off the bat that I can see. So I'm going to go ahead and put a take profit order at 8600. That's what we'll do. So how do I do a take profit order on Bitmex? If I go down to my open position, kind of similar to the way Poloniex has open positions, you can add or remove margin. This is very important because if you need to add some available margin to lower your liquidation price, you always can. But be cautious that if you start losing a trade, you don't want to add more and more and more to the position. It's just a bad trading habit. So I'm not really going to add that. I don't care. My liquidation price is at 5,000, and so I don't need that extra collateral in this case. Okay, so I'm going to put my take profit at 5,600. So over here on the right hand side, there's 8,538. I'm just going to cross that out and then do 8,600 per coin. And then I press close. And then I press limit close. Now, what that will do is it will automatically take my profits at 8,600 if it reaches those prices. Let's wait for this order to come in here. Okay, and you see this order up here on the top? This is my profit taking zone right here. If prices jump up to that level, it'll instantly take profits for me. And you know, this is why you can enter into a position and then walk away, do your stuff throughout the day, and then it will take profits for you automatically, right? So, kind of what's interesting about this is we've seen prices drop below the support zone that I was looking at here at 8,500 per coin. And now the prices are starting to rally back up. So my trading plan was that I would sell if it broke below that level. Now this is an important thing about using soft stops in crypto. I decided that I would sell before I break below that level, but because I'm using a soft stop loss, I can allow the buyers to come back in for a little bit and then don't take the loss quite as bad as if I would have just had the stop loss there. So that's just a method that we use sometimes in trading, is a soft stop loss, especially crypto because of how volatile things can be. You might have a wick down and not even notice it, and then come back to your computer and your position is okay. All right, so it looks like I probably should have taken a short position on here, and it doesn't look like we're going to have a lot of buying pressure come back in yet. This is 8,500 per coin though, so I don't really mind, and I have such a small position that I'm just going to leave this with my target in place because I know given enough time this will hit my target, and since my liquidation price is so low, I'm not concerned about it hitting it. All right, but I will say that if you feel like you have a really low liquidation price, it's always smart to have text alerts significantly above your liquidation price so that if it even starts to get all close to it, you're aware before it happens. And never go to sleep with a liquidation price that is possible to hit, right? Because a lot of times markets panic overnight. And so if you have a really, really low liquidation price, or you think you have a low liquidation price, the market might panic while you're sleeping, and because you aren't awake to get a text alert over your margin position, you might not be able to get to it. So again, these are things to be considering in margin. It can be kind of high stress because of those things, so it's not for everybody. But nobody on YouTube has really made a video even explaining half of this stuff firsthand, or like explaining how they've experienced it. And so that's why I decided to be that guy for you guys. I decided, hey, I've made a lot of money on margin. I've lost some money on margin. I've made more than I've lost, thankfully. There for a minute, I didn't think it was going to be like that. One experience on margin, but that's a whole nother story for another day. But we all make mistakes, right? And I just feel like a lot of people that are trying to explain and teach this margin trading to other people on YouTube don't really go into the details of like why it's bad or how it could go wrong, or, but I am here to tell you that it's went wrong with me before. And so, I'm expressing and giving you my thoughts and my feelings on what I've learned throughout my days trading margin, so that you can take that and learn from it and not make the same mistakes that I did, hopefully. And some of you will still make the same mistakes that I did. Some of you will still get too greedy. Some of you won't set stop losses. But at this point, it will be, a learning experience for you. And so that's kind of what I made this video for, is because there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of people that want to get into it but have no clue what it even means. And then again, like I said, people just don't understand the risk factors. And if they do, they're either scared of it or they don't know how to manage that risk. So as you can see, I am losing 0.2% on this position, which if I hover my mouse over the unrealized profit loss, ends up being 0.000000 Bitcoin. So I basically lost nothing on this position. Now, mind you, it is $100 position, so the amount of gains or losses that I would see would be negligible anyways. But just an example of why you would never want to panic sell bottoms is look what we're happening now. See how we have this green candlestick coming back in on these lows? Remember how I said that allows me with a soft stop to wait for the buyers to come back in so I can get out at break even? I definitely see that as a scenario that's happening here. So this green candle's coming back in. I'm going to cancel my take profit order and then get ready to close my position at break even when the market reaches that price. So over here on the right hand side, this market button is the market price button. I'm going to go ahead and take my position out now because it's very close to the break even price, and it's at the same price that I decided I would take my stop at. So let's go ahead and do that. Perfect. So we took a very, very small loss on that trade. And, you win some, you lose some. But it was just for the pure concept and to teach you guys how to actually take and exit positions on Bitmex. So I hope that helped clarify some things for you guys about Bitmex. Stop losses are very similar as well. You just use a stop limit order here. You can set your stop price, but again, you have to have an equal amount of the size of your position to open that order, so be aware of that. But yeah, that's margin trading in a nutshell and as in general. If you guys have any questions, I know this is a lot to take in at the start. It's probably going to sound overwhelming, like I said earlier. But if you have any questions, go ahead and let me know in the comment section below, and I'll do my best to answer those. And get you guys profiting off of this and giving it a shot. And again, just a quick disclaimer, don't do this if you're new to trading. Don't do this with high amounts of your portfolio, and this is not investment advice or financial advice. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope that you learned something. If you have any questions about margin trading, go ahead and let me know in the comment section below, and I will catch you guys in the next video. As always, stay profitable.